Hi guys, Melissa here. I wanted to talk to you about interplanting and why it's a great idea. So I wanted to show you an example of how I've done that. I planted soybeans here, and then I went ahead and I planted daikons underneath them. Now, plants like to be planted with each other. If you notice in the wild, or if you go in a forest or anywhere, you notice that it's always a variety. You never see in nature just one thing growing. Unless you do, it's a bunch of weeds, and it's usually because, people trampled on it and we kind of created it that way. But naturally, in the wild, that's not how things are. And trying to recreate that as much as possible in the garden, which is also, I believe, another principle of permaculture, really helps you plant more, get more out of your garden, but also, it regenerates too. It creates more. So I want a good example of that is the soybeans with the daikons. They occupy different spaces. So the daikons naturally are going to go deep underground. And then with the soybeans, the nice part about those is that they're more of a nitrogen fixer. So they're going to feed the other plant, but at the same time, we're going to have some lovely soybeans. Me and my kids I got to tell you, soybeans are a great thing to plant. They're really easy. Not that much eats on them, or at least nothing in my yard or anything I've noticed. I do have a slug problem, so I really have an issue growing brassicas like broccoli. Not so much kale. For some reason, they don't care for kale. Them and my kids. But you could interplant other things with them so you could get more for your space. It's a lot better that way. Another example I have here is some soybean. Yeah, I have soybeans planted with some more daikons over here. I tend to go overboard with it, but you know how I do it. And I have my garlic here, which I will be harvesting soon. I just pulled one out earlier, and you can tell they're just about ready when they start getting a little brown around the edges. You don't really want to eat the greens as much, or if you do, it's more for cooking, which they're awesome. I have been eating these since they started sprouting. The best part about garlic is it's all good. You eat all of it, and I have been. So yeah, so I wanted to show you a little example of that. And it's not just with the lettuce and the onions, because those two like each other also, but there's so many different combinations that you could try. I know the Three Sisters are awfully popular, but well, if you're like me, I kind of consider myself a little squirrel mama, because I gotta tell you, I've seen at least 10 of them in my yard at one time. I cannot grow corn. I just can't. I tried one year, it got a little big, and then when they figured out what it was, that was it. No more corn. So that's why I got my sticks. Nothing wants to eat a stick unless you're a beaver, so everything works out that way. So if you can't do one thing, just try another. And that's what I'm doing here. And you can see here, this is working out nicely. My beans are climbing up the pole. And then I have my squash here. Now, I thought they would kind of sprawl out a little bit more. I bought a couple varieties that I assumed they were going to take up more space, but as you can see here, I got some flowers already. So, I got to tell you guys, courgettes are so good. I like to take them and put them in kind of like a pancake batter, and then I like to fry them up. So good. And then I got my tomato babies. So these guys are getting taller, so they're going to start getting bigger. I had to put a little hoop here so that way I could help them, kind of hold them up, because I do have some vining varieties that might need a little extra support. So it's always good to get that set up before they start getting bigger. And you can see here, I interplanted also. So I did have to take off, in honesty, I did have to clip off a couple leaves just so I could give these guys a better start, but it really did make a difference. And wow, you can see here I got more courgettes. They're coming. So yeah, eat everything. The flowers of your squash plants, they're delicious, they're nutritious, and everybody should be eating them. So I wanted to take you over to my cucumber patch, my squash, cucumber, tomato, everything patch. You know how I roll. And show you my cucumbers. I just planted a whole row of cucumbers here, and they did really well. Those were the ones that I pre-soaked inside, my Tupperware containers, and you know what? It worked out great. So I'm going to have a whole new row of cucumbers, and you can see here my tomato babies. Oh, there's a lightning bug. It's almost nighttime, and they're getting ready to come out. I'm trying to get a good view of them. I used to chase them all the time when I was a little girl. They're a lot of fun. And as you can see here, there's just always things I'm planting. So I did have some empty space. I finally cleared away all the old radishes and things that didn't work out, or things that did, I just ate them, and planted some beets. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a fall crop of beets, beet greens. I like the greens too. I tell you, beet greens are so tasty. So I got a whole bunch of those, and they're all coming up right underneath my cucumbers. So again, interplanting. And then I have some squash vines here. I'm kind of hoping that I'm going to allow them to sprawl out if they need to, so that's why I planted them near the corners there, so they could have the space that they need. And also got my tomato babies here, so yeah, everything's looking good. It's still pretty small, still in its infancy. Things are looking good. Looking good.